The plot thickens, but I want to just thank everyone for being here tonight. It's so motivating. You know, someone who's fought this thing tooth and nail for, I guess it's been 4 years now. It's really starting to get exciting. It seems like maybe we've got a chance, and I'm just so proud of what's the momentum that's built in the last few weeks. If you think about 4 municipalities and 2 counties passing the resolutions that they passed, most of which were unanimous, were tougher than the resolution that we passed here. I think that was an extraordinary statement, and those are legislators that represent over 1.5 million people, and for NCDOT to, I think, just act with the utter arrogance that they displayed. Warren, you're a likable guy. I enjoy debating you all the time, but I mean the press release that you all put out the afternoon that the Mecklenburg County Commission was going to discuss and vote on this, I think was shameless. Yes. I really do.
DOT is our partner in our town. We do a lot of work with them. Just be respectful. Just be respectful.
And Vince, I think your comments to the Mecklenburg County Commission were exactly on this point in pointing out how absurd that document was. And I bring this out because, I think the headline was completes financial requirements, but we all know it hadn't closed financially, and that's why this was still a germane discussion for those legislatures. But you were clearly, whether it's you as spokesperson Warren or someone at NCDOT, you're clearly trying to manipulate that legislative process real time. And that's not the function of NCDOT. And I think that's what's caused the complete lack of public confidence in this project and in NCDOT at this stage. I mean, Kurt mentions the scoring and the prioritization. In all of our minds it's NCDOT doing the scoring, right? And if they have this kind of bias in trying to manipulate a legislative process, then how can we have any confidence in the prioritization of funding dollars?
Well, sorry, David, just to jump in, that even with that, again, to belabor the point, is the project still scored very well in spite of that handicap.
Now, I just want to remind people again what's happened to get us to this point tonight. Jim Puckett, his comments after this legislative meeting where Mecklenburg County voted that, and that was a bipartisan vote, right? Just extraordinary that you had those people coming together. And if people watched the video, or if you were there for the meeting, their comments actually went far beyond the resolution. They hate this idea. And again, these are people that represent over 1 million folks. But Jim, to ignore the request to delay of 6 elected bodies and instead accelerate the signing of the contract that further obligates the state of North Carolina to $80 million is the single most insulting and arrogant act of governance I have witnessed in my 18 years of politics. Yep. For the first time in my life, I'm ashamed of being part of the political process. Watergate, Clinton's affair, easily shady land deals, Patrick Cannon's bags of cash. Jim's a colorful guy, he goes on. But this, quote, this, however, was government acting against the request of the governed without even the decency of a response. Yeah. That's Jim Puckett who represents We have the chaos in Virginia. I mean, we're contemplating litigation here. Virginia, with the exact same partner, Cintra, has now spent $281 million, taxpayer dollars in that case. Cintra has not broken ground. There's been no construction. There have been federal delays. There's environmental issues. But that is heading towards a cataclysmic litigation. Cintra's not going to give that money back. Right. And, they would argue that their contract says they were mobilizing the resources, and so they're entitled to $280 million, having done nothing but wait around. And so that's the partner we've got on this project. And I told folks up here, I feel like reading Virginia, which is about 18 months ahead of us, in terms of their, they financially closed a couple years. It's like a movie trailer. It's what we're going to see in working with this partner over the coming decades. My wife talked about Cintra's corruption around the world. I just think there's so much here now that we really have got to organize everyone we possibly can and just kick and scream until this goes away. So,
Commissioner Gilroy.
yeah, so let me just read this into the record quickly and let's see what the votes are. Resolution requesting the termination of the contract with Cintra I-77 Mobility Partners to toll I-77 for 50 years. Lori, note that typo in years. Whereas the final draft of the comprehensive agreement between the North Carolina Department of Transportation and I-77 Mobility Partners, the developer requires the NCDOT to compensate the developer if any future interstate improvement results in a decrease in toll revenues along the planned I-77 Hot Lane corridor. And whereas Governor Tory seeks a bond referendum to fund the widening of Interstate I-77 with general purpose lanes and other ways may exist to secure funds to widen I-77 without a 50-year toll lane contract. And whereas the NASCAR community, the service and retail industries, as well as other business owners have actively spoken out against the toll lane plan, making a compelling case that tolls in I-77 will impair economic development. And whereas in recent media-led polls, more than 90% of our constituents oppose the 50-year toll contract for I-77, and whereas Ferrovial Cintra of Spain has a long track record of corrupt business practices and failed toll road projects around the world, and whereas I-77 can be debottlenecked for approximately $100 million using public funds that citizens have paid for through gasoline tax, and the toll lane project will cost state taxpayers approximately $240 million, and whereas the toll lane project is forecast to drain $11 billion over 50 years from drivers in the hot lanes, money out of family budgets with less discretionary income to spend in our local economy. And whereas I-77 is a primary evacuation route for 2 nuclear power stations in the event of an accident or terrorist attack, and the fastest, least intrusive manner to add capacity to I-77 is with general purpose lanes from near exit 23 to 36, which does not require tearing down bridges or other unnecessary and complex work that is required to accommodate toll lanes. Therefore, be it resolved on behalf of the citizens that we represent here in Cornelius, we ask that the planned 50-year toll contract for I-77 between NCDOT, I-77 Mobility Partners, and Cintra of Spain be immediately terminated and the widening of I-77 with general purpose lanes begin as soon as reasonably possible. For discussion, but that was meant to be a really simple and straightforward request for termination.
Commissioner Duke.
Yeah, Dave, I would support this 100%. That's not easy for me to say because Dave and I don't always agree on a lot of it. Yeah, and I don't mean to make light of it because this is a very serious thing, but I've been won over by Dave and by you folks quite a few weeks ago. When this tidal wave turned, I looked up, I said, "Mom, I got there right." And I have a good friend in the audience that helped straighten me out. I appreciate it. It's Phyllis Wilson. I love you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ross.
Yeah, I can agree if David said you agree with the tweet.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm thinking questionable instead of corrupt.
To me, that, questionable is, here's
Okay, there you go.
Here's my tweaks.
So is this something we want to continue to debate at the dais, or is this something we want to work on and bring it back to the next meeting?
I think tonight, I think we've got to consider it tonight.
Any other comments, discussions, commissioners? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously.